Hi, Fresh Talks Global Vision. I'm so excited to be back. My name is Rhonda, and I'm the host, producer of this show. I believe that we are all here to make a change, and I'm consistently looking at what are the experts that I really want to bring in to get into the heart center of stuff, to also have a bigger vibe in life. Like they're looking at the bigger picture of what they're doing and how it definitely is different. I'm bringing Colleen Akiko in here. If I said that right, did I say that right, Colleen Akiko?
Just don't call me late for dinner.
I know because dinner's so wonderful, especially with
Yeah.
good protein, a lot of different special herbs. Oh my gosh, I don't even have my health coaching open up, 25
Oh,
plus years in the
good.
healthy industry. I'm like, I could talk about that all day. Um,
Yes.
so Fresh Talks Global Vision, I'm always thinking about how can we play here? How can we make this a mastermind for you where you feel like you are getting that mindset transformation entertainment? Like you feel it, you can feel it in your body. There's a shift happening for you because it's just entertaining you. And if
Mm.
you're getting this in recording, then add a comment. Tell me what you think. Kind of play with it, dive in, watch it a couple times because I feel like the first round is just not enough. So let's get you knowing Colleen Akiko. And Colleen, it says aloha. Were you living in Hawaii, or is this the time when you were writing and you were in Hawaii?
You know, I never went to Hawaii until I was in my 40s. I'm half Japanese, and I, uh, I kinda grew up all the way into my early adulthood feeling like a misfit.
Oh,
And I actually, like many people, I encountered a lot of racial bullying growing up as well, because I just didn't quite look like everybody else. And I went to Honolulu for the first time I think I was about 40 years old. And I had this experience walking down the street. I looked around, and for the first time in my entire life, I was not in the minority. I was in the majority. And so
that had
something
to have been
inside
crazy at 40 years old.
well, I had never, experienced that. I had experienced sometimes being here or there, maybe seeing an Oriental family and like, "Oh, I wish I could know them," and maybe I had a handful of, Asianish friends, growing up, and, we would kinda pal together, but, yeah, I felt like there was a home feeling, and I'm
Wow.
all about what feels like home? So that, at a certain level, felt like home, and I ended up, going back, quite often, and it does actually I've been to all the different islands, and they all have their personality, and,
Yeah.
they all seem to kinda draw out and connect me in some different way. So,
Wow, Colleen, you probably have so many different lives over there, like some kind of connection with that. Very
mm,
interesting. I love that. Hey,
yeah,
I want to know more because, like, what you're saying is first, you never felt like you fit in until you finally started seeing more of like just like the exterior of like, oh my gosh, like I'm looking
I'm
like
not weird.
a lot more people. That is very interesting because
Mm,
in our family we have somebody that's adopted, and for the first time when they saw their biological mom and then also uh, a sibling, it'd be a step, no, half, because it
huh,
was
mhm.
their mama and then another man, and, it was like, "Oh my gosh, it looks exactly like you," and that was, like, when they were, like, 55 or something like that. They finally actually saw somebody that really looked like them, which, I mean, he's white. I mean, all white people look, white, but I mean, this was like, oh my gosh, I've never my family that has raised me to all this beautiful stuff. I've never looked like them before, and now I have. So it's kind of interesting when you start actually seeing something that's in that connection. So I
It
see
really
that
is.
you have a nickname from a mentoring elder.
Mm.
They call you Weaver Bird. So what's a weaver bird? I have a feeling that it's a bird that has a variety of things going on, or just not having one home, or like what does your name mean, weaver bird?
Well, I think the name is a description of how I function in this life. I just kind of flit around from branch to branch to branch, but I do have a mission. I have a purpose, and that is to build something, to create something. Like many people, I'm a creative person. And I actually didn't know what weaver birds were like. I had to Google it. And I saw on the Google that some of the weaver birds are masters at creating these nests that are super functional and sometimes quite unique. They
Wow.
some of them look like little basket condos or something, and they kind of take whatever's at hand and they put it together and they make something cool with it.
So
And
this is you. This is very
well,
cool.
it is, and it's multi-level. I find that yeah, I like to, in some ways, and I'm sure you could relate to this in the culinary world. I'm always putting things together that you probably could not find in a cookbook, but it just makes sense. And I'm like, well, the ingredients are all really tasty, and I don't think we could go wrong if we put these wonderful
So
nutritious
you actually
ingredients
really know
together.
how to cook. Like you'll see some herbs, and you'll go, okay, this I want to put this with that, and
Oh
oh,
yeah, but it's a
You are
process.
so connected. You're so spiritually connected. It's just a natural thing that you're not making the statement. Like I make a statement about stuff because it's like new to me. Like this spiritual journey is like amazing. I'm learning to hear
Mm,
my downloads, my guides, and if I follow
mhm,
that, even my calendar plays upon my calendar be, and like things will open up, and I'll hear that you need that opened up because of this. Like I mean, my whole life is weaving heavier and heavier on the guidance of that, and it's making life easier and moving forward faster, which I call like a quantum leap. Okay, so
mm,
we are the Fresh Talks Global Vision, and I have built an advisory board also to really help me get this out and get their word out also of like what they're doing out there
mm,
and visualizing what their change could be to
yeah.
help the world become more peaceful, more cohesive. And so I'm speaking to the people that really believe that, not just the people that are like, that can't happen, which I know happens a lot because we're in a lot of fight and flight kind of a situation. So I believe that we can stop the shaming and blaming going on when we start having these conversations about,
Mhm,
hey, I felt that so much. I felt like my voice was shut down, and I started recognizing there's power in the conversation and help
mhm,
somebody open up their voice. What is
mm.
it that
Love that.
you really are feeling that with your podcast that you have going and the people you're
Mhm.
working with, what are you recognizing as like some goals that you have going on that's related with shifting people's lives?
Mm, what a beautiful question. What I'm discovering, sometimes breath by breath, is that all these fragments that my brain says, what's that got to do with this? And my brain would feel like it's just a storm. Uh, but when I settle in and I get quiet and I listen, I discover that, oh, that is the perfect thread to bring into this, because that's what will really open someone's heart or help them feel like, oh, I do belong after all, or wow, I matter. I mean, that simple feeling, I matter. It's so profound and life changing, but yet so many of us, when we were maybe even toddlers, in my
Yeah.
case, a toddler, um, we took it in. We interpreted the way that we were treated to be, I don't matter.
Yeah.
It's just simple things like that.
I
So,
like that "I don't matter" kind of crusade. That you're helping people,
mm,
be able to see and hear
well,
themselves. That's beautiful because people need to be seen and heard and
oh,
know that
absolutely.
I think everybody can be a queen and a king. And if I say I'm a queen, that doesn't there's no high level. It just means who else is in. The biggest sparkle, that's all sparkle together kind of thing.
Yes,
I
I'm loved
love
the best, and so are
Colleen,
you.
I love your love. I
Thank
love
you.
your love. Your
Thank you.
love is just so gentle and sweet, and the experience with you is that I can feel that you're on this adventure for people to. We might have said more in the green room, but almost like to you're learning to unlearn, like take the control out of stuff and just allow things
Mhm.
to be, and that's where you get the flow of what transpires, and you're going to go further than if you're trying to own the brain and trying to control stuff. Can we talk
Yeah.
more about that when you're talking about the more of releasing the control and just allowing yourself to unlearn?
Yeah, I have so many applications of that, but obviously it's the concept that in learning that wisdom is caught more than taught. So if I really wish someone to learn how to be free, how to feel at home in their body, or any of these really important lessons, that has to be real in my body. I need to model that. And I'm an introverted personality, and yet I've been performing music most of my life. Um,
Oh,
but it's there's always a deeper inner call with all of these things, and it is always activated by love, which is really who we are. I remember a couple things came to mind when you were talking. Yes, you're all heart, dear. When
I'm
you were
learning,
talking,
Colleen. I'm
uh,
learning. It
you
really
know,
means a lot to me. I
oh,
seriously just I'm
oh,
learning to be more gentle and more
mhm,
loving,
mhm,
and it's so wonderful. I'm connecting with all the animals that
yeah,
walk through our property. We're on 5 acres. I'm
mhm,
connecting more with my goats. I talk to my dogs. My dogs will come and tell me when it's time for
yes,
certain things. Like, if you give that to
mhm,
nature, your trees, your flowers, they'll make you laugh. You get to create this beautiful experience in life. And
yeah,
to me, that's what you're speaking about, right? Is that what you're speaking about when, like, being in home? Look at my notes here. Wisdom is caught in the moment.
mhm, yes, and it's so often not so much that there's something new that's come alongside. It's been alongside all along. And so, when we get quiet enough, when we feel safe enough, when we've allowed whatever help has been brought to us, we open to that help. So we're not triggered, we're not fixing things all the time. We can just feel safe enough to be with something, even though, I mean, you and I had some technical problems before we started our recording. Part of me is wanting to cuss and throw things, and the other part of me is like, you know what? I can just be with this, right?
Colleen,
And this is
you're
real
so
life.
you're so gentle and loving, and you're like, oh, part of me could.
So easily.
I
Because I've
just
been experiencing that a lot lately, and I think a lot of people are having these, excuse my French, shit storms, that
yeah,
just happen at the worst possible time,
yeah.
and yet I am called to be the eye of the storm because that's who I truly am. And so this is our time, like Obama said, we are the change, that we've been waiting for. And we've timelessly been present all along. And we have, like you mentioned, so much invisible help alongside. And it's so loving, it's so patient. Yeah, sometimes kind of comical. But we're never, never, never alone. We are so loved and so supported. You were talking about something a minute ago, and I remembered, I think it was about being seen and being heard. And I remember when I lived in Truckee, and was just first out of my own deepest need to find footing, to find bearings with a very, very difficult situation. I uh, got some training in energy healing, a few Reiki attunements and transformational coaching and on different modalities because I needed it myself. And once that settled enough to where I could start offering that to others, I noticed that the people in my community, some of the women were actually, it was brought to my attention that they were not feeling seen and they were not feeling heard and they were feeling kind of just like they're in prison. And
Wow.
so I started what went on in that form, a series called I'm Here, I Matter, and I Have a Voice. And it kind of morphed into what we call workshops from the inside out. And I'm still doing forms of that online now in what I call subgroups. But that's an intrinsic need that we have as humans. And
Yeah.
not just women, I mean, men as well. You know, they've got their own set
Oh,
of
right.
challenges.
I've been learning more about
Mhm.
the men's journey too, to understand my husband, like being with
Mm,
somebody for 27 years, really understanding, what I want to see everybody and understand just enough to, as I'm growing too. And yeah, so many men feel something that it's hard for them to communicate, but, you
yeah,
know, and I'm just amazed at how gentle men are, even if there's a lot of anger there, like not knowing how to express. I always thought that men weren't very nice because of my background and some things that happened.
hmm,
And so being with somebody for so long, I really had to learn how to love a man that I was not saying very nice things about when I was growing up. Men are this, men are
hmm,
that. And I'm like, you're right, that's so bad. And even though I wasn't saying it anymore, I was living it
mm,
because in the back going in my stories. So I
yeah,
I love this conversation. Colleen,
yes.
so I love what you're sharing here and how you like to tether things together where you find like I somebody's talking about this. Oh yeah, that can come in and that can be part of this. Oh yeah, that looks like that doesn't belong, but somehow that over there I can feel like the calling, like you're very sounds like you're very good at bringing resources together that's not always like what someone would say, like it's almost probably counterintuitive. Because if you're cooking, just as a really basic example, because
Yeah,
we could be talking about mindset stuff too. If
yeah.
you're cooking and you're throwing in herbs and
Mhm.
it just appears to just go, oh my gosh, this is really good. First off, it shows how tenacious you are, how you are okay if you quote unquote fail, because you're just open and creating, and that love helps you I guess, learn things quicker in a way because failing is like a fail safe. It's like, no, I'm just learning, like this whole flow. So I appreciate you going through this and sharing the experience. How long have you been doing the work that you're doing right now? Just sounds so
Mm.
much wisdom, which I'm thinking you're
Aw.
bringing all your gems that you have gathered because you're a wise woman. That should be your name. Wise woman. You could be called Weaver Bird, that's fine, but
Oh, oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you. You know, I appreciate the encouragement. And honestly, when we stretch, uh, someone giving us courage, encouraging us is such a gift. So
yeah,
thank you for that very much. I think that each of us has the makings for fulfilling our purpose from the get-go, honestly. And I remember even as a young child, always being the person who noticed when someone was not being played with on the playground, and I would go play with them. You know,
yeah,
and I don't know if that was always just some noble act on my part so much as maybe I was afraid, you know, well, these people on the playground, I might not be whatever enough for them to want to play with me, but this person isn't playing with anybody, so they'll play with me.
yeah.
But that
You
kind
wonder, but I mean, I have that in me too, and I
of,
find some people in my family are like that. That's a
mhm.
special quality
Well,
because of what it does for somebody like what you said, being seen and heard.
It I mean, whatever our qualities are, you know, they always have, the bright side and the shadow side. And both sides are so valuable. And the shadow side, when we don't look at that, there's so much that we don't learn. So, and the shadow side of being like that is actually being codependent, and enabling others, and attracting narcissistic people into our relationship, uh, in inner relationships, because we're
Let me
sensitive
follow
to.
that, Colleen. I like what you're saying. Before you go on, can we back up just a moment and,
Sure.
and then you go forward again? 'Cause no, this is real. This is actually something you just clicked into something here that I want to make sure that we capture. So, what we were talking about, and I want to make sure that we set this up if I'm accurate. That if you're somebody where you're trying to play, but the person that you are with, you're like, they're not giving me the time of day. Oh, I can go over there, and that person, nobody's playing with them. That means I get the attention. If you're looking at the shadow side, I'm getting the attention, and then maybe I'm the most important person because over there I was, maybe
Mhm.
not being acknowledged. So if we look on that side, is that where you say that set up like that? If I'm understanding where you were going with that, that actually sets up more of like finding people that might be narcissistic or that we could become narcissistic. And where were you going with that? Because you were making a very good point, but I want to know what the base is off of that. What were you?
Well, that's interesting because I've actually never talked about that before. But just looking at it in a super objective way, um, I know that I felt compassion, for the people, and actually the what I'm kind of uh, remembering is in the 6th grade we moved from west to Midwest, and a more diversified culture.
Hmm.
Um, in the on the playground, there were uh, kids who obviously were coming from middle class, and there were kids who were very, very poor. They didn't smell right. They didn't look quite right. And I did feel a tug, and I befriended a couple girls like that, and they wanted me to go on the school bus and see where they lived, and I was appalled to see that where they lived, the windows were broken. And
Oh, wow.
um, and yet I also experienced a backlash from that because they had so much trauma in their lives that, at the drop of the hat, they would flip-flop. And even though maybe we were best friends, and this is very early on, um, they would all of a sudden get super reactive and say things that I had never heard before. And so that just kind of planted a seed. And I do believe that it generally is the sensitive, empathic people who are drawn into relationships with sociopaths and narcissistic people because they're understanding, and they're always looking for the root cause for things, and that's a really good thing. But everything, every part of us needs to just come up and be on the plate, right?
Yeah.
See all the ingredients to, what we're serving up here. And so I have had to do that many times in many ways through all the different chapters of my life. And I,
I
I
have a
think we all do.
question because I want to back again, just in another spot here. So there is something I am understanding. I believe that I want to blow in just a little bit here. So when you're saying that this is how we learn or how we start bringing in narcissistic type of people, and you were saying the scenario of somebody who appears to be struggling, broken windows, very struggling. You're in there going, hey, I'm just here because I felt passionate about wanting to get to know you because I know that whatever
Mhm.
attracted that.
Right.
How is that connected with a sociopath? Does that mean how are you connecting those two?
I'm connecting them with a general bent in the personality trait, I guess. But I think it's deeper than that.
Uh-huh.
And I have read, kind of in hindsight, uh, that it is generally the sensitives that become enablers, because we feel like, oh, I'm strong enough to handle this, and they're working this out. So let me just hold space for them,
Oh,
and I can forgive them. I'm a forgiving person, and blah blah blah. And that's just boy, that's full of sabotage. So I have
okay.
experienced that personally, like many people, and
Oh,
um, just the good thing is the home base is the same for all of us, regardless of our personality bents and our experiences and our birth families and our non-birth families,
right. Our home
Um,
base. Yeah.
sure, we see whatever it is that we need to, and we're now ready to work on in our own lives. We see that reflected in all the situations around us and our
Yeah.
relationships with
I love
others.
what you're sharing. The I do remember I had a client that was challenging me in the way of, oh, I understand that. She's being abusive, but I understand it because I was raised around something specific that she's doing. So no, it's okay because I can create some kind of energy to pull her out of it and
Mm,
then help her create bigger business and stuff. And after a while, I realized that wasn't a good thing. It's like just because you understand something
mm,
doesn't mean you need to be in it. You've
yeah,
already experienced it because
yeah.
you feel you have empathy for them because you're like, well, nobody really wants to, be with them or work with them, but you can see the gems in them because you can see that softer side. And you're like, no, they're a nice person. And it's like, no, they're being nice right now for the moment, but they have
Mm,
another side. Everybody can be nice, but you got to watch those other tendencies that they're working through. Everybody can look nice. And I just kept going to that. No, they're really nice people. And it helped with the healing space because it's like, no, we can. I mean, a person who killed somebody can be in prison, and you can
mhm,
think that they're the nicest person because you don't know what they did, and then you realize, oh no, there's another side to it. But they seem really nice. So
mm.
Colleen, I love you being here. We've been together almost 30 minutes in conversation, and I truly enjoy what you're sharing because there's so much insightful stuff. I love how you tether things together when it comes to food and just pulling things and making something to the way that you really help people really be seen and heard and finding, stuff that really supports that person just by allowing that flow to happen.
Mm.
I feel that's like a divine download
Oh, thank
being
you.
able to lead with something like that, and know that you're holding space for somebody and you're
Mm,
not trying to do it through the brain, but you're just like, I'm going to allow things to come so then I can hear what
mm,
what this person is here to be able
mm.
to listen to. So I appreciate your
You know,
time, Colleen.
thank you. I feel a little prompting to share one little story. Is there time
Oh,
for that?
let's finish it off
Um,
with the story, my friend.
as you're speaking, I remember this is after I was starting my Reiki practice, and I had some very draining situations that I was dealing with 24/7, and which is why I got into the coaching and the Reiki again. Just to keep myself able to be neutral, and
Yeah.
not engaged in some real explosive situations. So I took myself in for a Reiki session to my teacher, and she's very intuitive. And a few minutes in, she stopped and she said, "Oh my gosh, Colleen," she said, and I had started my practice. I was seeing clients every day and so forth. She said, I don't there's 2 things that, are really strong in you, what you're doing. And she said, "First of all, you are not taking on anybody's negative energy, which is, often what happens." She says, "You don't have anyone else's negative energy, so that's really good."
That is
And
good.
so I'm like, "Okay, using the tools, I'm glad for that." But she said, "Colleen, you are drier than dirt. You are so energetically dry." She said, "You are so thirsty. You're like a person who has been deprived of water, where if you were given a glass of water, you couldn't even drink it. You are so dry."
Wow.
And I had no idea that that was my energetic state and I needed to tend to myself. So I would just love for whoever is hearing this to know that, again, you matter.
Yeah.
And when we ourselves are energetically dry and deprived, especially in service to others,
Yeah.
it's not a loud voice that we hear. There are no alarms that go off inside of us. We won't even notice it until we present ourselves and get really, really quiet and just open our hearts and receive the help and the support and the love that is present with us always, 24, every breath.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so
Mm.
beautiful. Wow.
Mm.
All right, my friend. Where should I have people come visit you, get to know you? Is it the website? Is it a
I think
specific
so.
landing page you would like them to go to?
You know, I would say, and the website is rather new. I have an older music-based website, but this one's called songrise.live. It's SONGRISE .LIVE. And I would love visitors and I'd love input because it hasn't been up that long. You know, what I've been offering has been happening, gosh, 14 years, I think, something like that, professionally. But this is a new website incorporating the music, the podcast, the blog, the
Wow.
supportive tools, the online supportive groups, and the speaking, and yeah, the song music related resources as well.
I love it. Okay.
Mm.
So we'll get them to songrise.live.
Yes, thank
Oh,
you.
excellent. You're
Oh,
welcome. It's fun hanging out with you.
you too.
You're unique, and that I think that's what happens, that you get to be yourself where you haven't carried a lot of masks on when you're growing up, just discovering that this is who you are. You're not trying to, you don't know how to fit in, which is so hard to do as you're growing up. But then you realize that you're in alignment because you only know how to be yourself.
Yes, it's such a precious journey. Each and every one of us, the journey is so valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have so many stories that, and I'm sure you do too, about when something happened that tried to shut us down. You were talking about vocalizing and finding our voice. I actually, as a teenager, who was just freely hippie chick singing with a guitar everywhere, I heard an adult criticize my voice, and my voice shut down for years. Uh,
Oh my
so
gosh.
these things happen left and right. And yet, when we just bring the whole lump of everything that we know of ourselves and we offer it, to our source, whoever, whatever we call that, and say, here I am, please help me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a mess. And then you discover, oh,
I'm
no, wait,
just a mess.
just wait a minute, let me just blow those illusions off. You're not a mess, you're perfect, you're complete, and
Yeah.
when we discover that, then it's like Dorothy going from, on the Wizard of Oz, black and white into Technicolor. Life
Oh, I
takes on a
love
whole
that.
dimension. And I love what you're doing. And I love how you are a weaver bird in your own way, just bringing together so many spiritual, physical, emotional, vibrational, so many things are coming together with what you're offering. And I love that you have fresh in there because it is always fresh.
Yeah, I
And
feel like every day we're available to create our fresh identity. It's like
Mhm.
our bodies go through a detox as we go through the night, and somehow we still think that we're the same person. I'm like, oh, we're missing the boat here.
That's
But if you all those mistakes I made, I've learned a lot. So do we really need to keep reminding what I've done, 20, 15 years ago? Well,
right.
I mean, if you want to shame and blame me, but no, because we're moving forward. Let's keep creating to
Yeah.
be able
Where's
to
the
really,
life?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Where's the life and where's the love? And that's where we need to be.
All right,
Mhm.
everyone. This is a great conversation. Keep add in to what you're feeling about is being heart-centered, what you're learning about this conversation, what you're learning about yourself. I would love to hear from you. Have an insightful day, everybody. Namaste. Catch up with you soon.